Hello, my name is Reverend Dr. May Elise Cannon. Today is Friday, December 5th, 2025. We're now at 791 days. We'll be doing these daily updates through the end of the month for the remainder of the Advent season for those of us who follow the Gregorian calendar. And then starting on the 1st of January, we'll only be doing the live Thursday briefings, and then we'll post those videos. That's a weekly summary of the news focused on Christians in the Middle East and other priorities at Churches for Middle East Peace. In Gaza, Yasser Abu Shabab, the leader of the anti-Hamas militia Popular Force in Gaza, was shot and killed while intervening in a Palestinian clan dispute. The Wall Street Journal reported this. That was according to the local militia on the ground in the Gaza Strip. Israeli news reported just today that Israel has demanded 5 conditions in order to return residents and the Palestinian Authority to control refugee camps in the north of the West Bank. I've reported and given updates in the last couple of days of the number of people who've been displaced from the North Gaza Strip. The Palestinian Authority will prohibit the entry of international aid organizations into the camps and will provide all of the services to the citizens itself. That's the main condition that Israel is demanding. This was reported by I-24 News in Israel. Israeli strikes yesterday killed at least 5 Palestinians near Khan Yunis in Gaza. That included 2 children. 32 others were injured. Medics at the Kuwait Field Hospital reported rescue workers told BBC that they'd recovered bodies from Al Najat camp, a cluster of tents that houses hundreds of displaced people. The Israeli military yesterday said they, quote, I almost feel like we know what will be stated in the public accounts because this is always what's said, that a Hamas terrorist was struck. 5 soldiers from the Israeli forces were wounded. They said it was in response to that attack. Hamas yesterday handed over the remains of a Thai agricultural worker to Israel. Netanyahu's office said that today. The body of the Israeli police officer, Ron Givli, the last of the hostages to be returned, is still in Gaza. That means there's only one remaining body left in the Gaza Strip. The Israeli military said yesterday that its forces killed about 40 Hamas fighters who were trapped in tunnels below Rafah, in an area that's currently under Israeli control. Hamas did not confirm that number of how many are trapped or how many might still remain in the tunnels. Israel also announced today that it has set its defense budget at 112 billion shekels. That's 34.63 billion US dollars. That's for next year. They said we're allocating a huge budget to strengthen the army this year, but also one that allows us to return the state of Israel to a path of growth and relief for their citizens. In Syria, there have been large-scale protests happening, particularly in the coastal cities, including Homs, Latakia, and Jabal. There are protests mostly by minority communities, primarily the Alawites. You'll recall that the Alawites are the tribe of the former Bashar al-Assad, the former al-Assad regime. This week has been building over the past week. Here's what we're learning. There was a high-profile murder of a prominent Sunni Arab Bedouin husband and wife in Homs, and sectarian Shia slogans were drawn on the wall, seemingly in blood. Although authorities said that the initial investigations confirmed that the phrases written at the crime scene were placed with the aim of misleading and that they don't have a sectarian character, this did not stop Sunni tribes from attacking Alawite neighbors in Homs, destroying properties, shops, homes, and cars by setting them on fire. Now the Alawites are protesting and saying that they have a lack of protection. They want accountability. They said they're being discriminated against. And also for still 1,000 or so men from their community who are still being held by the current regime without anyone knowing where they are or what their conditions are. This is still related to the massacres from back in February. So today there were videos and reports of government forces shooting at crowds of unarmed protesters and also shooting in the air in order to disperse them. They admit to shooting in the air, but they say that unknown, unaffiliated assailants were the ones shooting at the crowds. Casualties are currently unknown, but we do know that there was at least one video of an elderly protester laying on the floor bleeding. The New York Times published an article about this on November 25th about the Syria and the Alawites protesting. The Arab News also published an article about Syria's developmental sector and how well equipped it is in terms of skills, but how under-resourced it is to respond to the current challenges. Over the last 10 months, more than 1 million Syrians have returned to Syria from other countries, while an additional 1.8 internally displaced people have returned to their areas of origin or choice. Years of often displacement have created profound psychological and economic instability. Many families are returning to find their homes or farms completely destroyed, and there's a lack of infrastructure and basic services such as water and electricity. So Syria is opening up after 14 years of civil war and conflict, but the impact of relentless bombing over the last several years, the neglected governance is visible in piles of rubble and in skeletal buildings that dot the countryside. The impact on children has been the most profound. There's more than 7,900 schools that have been damaged or destroyed, and nearly 2.5 million children are out of class in Syria. More than 7.5 million children are in need of humanitarian support. Hunger is rampant. There are about 2 million children at risk of malnutrition, and the country is contaminated with nearly 300,000 pieces of explosive ordnances that place children's lives in constant danger. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres told Reuters yesterday, I think there was something fundamentally wrong in the way, this is related to Gaza, in the way this particular operation was conducted with total neglect in relation to the deaths of civilians and the destruction of Gaza. He was speaking generically about the crisis. President Trump plans to announce before Christmas that the Gaza peace process is entering into its second phase. Then the unveiling of the new governance structure for Gaza would be announced. 2 U.S. officials said this today. The sources say that the U.S., Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey are negotiating with Hamas on an agreement under which the group will step back from governing Gaza and will also begin the process of disarmament. This has been a huge issue about the disarming of Hamas and militant groups in the Gaza Strip. A Western source said that Egypt and Qatar are optimistic. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is not. I don't have any particular unique updates today in terms of Christians in the Middle East, but as we're in the Advent season, churches around the Arab world, churches in Israel and throughout North Africa are preparing for the Advent season and celebrations of Christmas. The Orthodox Christmas will be celebrated in the 1st of January in the new year. May God go before us in our continued efforts towards peace. In the name of Christ, amen.